All right, welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today we're diving into something a little bit unexpected, I guess you could say. We're talking about SMS shortcodes in 2025.
Okay.
Now, you're probably thinking, wait, in 2025, why are we talking about that now? We've got all these new messaging channels like 10DLC and RCS.
Right.
But you know what? There's a reason.
Welcome to the CommioCast. I'm Tim McLean, Commio's Director of Marketing. Thanks for tuning in. Here we talk about all things cloud communications. Think modern calling and text messaging and more, all in the cloud. In this episode, as always, our hosts Micah and Kali join us from their virtual recording studio at Notebook LM. Guys, take it away.
It's kind of like how we still love physical books.
Yeah.
Even though we've got ebooks and audiobooks. Sometimes those older technologies, they still have their own unique appeal.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great analogy. It's like, yeah, there's all this fancy new stuff out there, but sometimes the old ways, they still have their own special something, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's exactly the case with SMS shortcodes. Think about it. They're like the OG of business texting. Remember back in like 2003, voting for American Idol with your phone?
Yeah.
That was all shortcodes. And even today, even with all the fancy bells and whistles of modern messaging, there's still a rock-solid way for businesses to connect.
They really are, and that's what we're going to be exploring in this deep dive today. Why are SMS shortcodes still relevant? Why are they still a viable option in 2025? And more importantly, what are the benefits for businesses who use them?
Exactly. And for you listening, this isn't just for the techies out there. Whether you're deep in the weeds of digital marketing or you're just curious about how businesses are talking to their customers, understanding why shortcodes are still around can give you some really valuable insights.
For sure.
So are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, let's start with the first major benefit we've identified. Throughput.
Okay, throughput. So in the context of A2P messaging, that's application to person, basically businesses texting us, regular folks, throughput is all about how many messages a carrier can actually deliver in a certain amount of time.
Right.
Like how many messages per second.
Yeah.
And that's where shortcodes really shine. Yeah. They have the highest throughput of any messaging channel out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking an average of about 500 messages per second.
That's
a lot. And what's really cool is that it scales really well. So it's just as easy to send out a message to 10,000 people as it is to 100 people.
Precisely. So if you're a business and you need to get a time-sensitive message out to a huge audience, and I mean really quickly, this is where shortcodes become super valuable.
Absolutely. Think about it, flash sales, breaking news alerts, emergency notifications. You need to reach a ton of people fast, and shortcodes can handle it.
No problem.
Okay, so we've got speed covered. But speed isn't everything, right?
Right. You need your messages to actually get where they're going.
Exactly. That brings us to our second key benefit, reliability.
No, this is a big one. We were looking at Bandwidth's 2025 State of Messaging report.
Oh, yeah, that was a fascinating report.
Really interesting stuff. And you know what they found? 60% of businesses said that deliverability was their top priority when choosing a messaging provider.
Really? Above everything else?
Above capacity, features, even price.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
Wait.
What's the point of sending a message if it never actually reaches the person?
Exactly. A message that doesn't get delivered is worthless. And that's where shortcodes come in again. They have really high deliverability rates.
So you can be pretty confident that when you send a message via a shortcode, it's actually going to get to the recipient.
Exactly. That's why they're often used for like really critical stuff, like those OTPs, those one-time passwords for logging in.
Yeah, those are essential. Or appointment reminders from your doctor.
Right. Things you really don't want to miss.
So if you're listening and you're thinking about ways to make sure your important messages get through, shortcodes are definitely worth considering.
For sure. And that brings us to our third benefit, which is, well, it's pretty straightforward. They're easy to remember.
Yeah, I mean, 4 to 6 digits, that's it. Way easier than trying to remember a whole phone number.
It is. Think about it. If you're a business, you can just slip that shortcode into a radio ad or put it on a billboard or even on a flyer, and people are much more likely to remember it.
It just rolls off the tongue better, Like text WIN to 55555.
Exactly. And for businesses that really want to go the extra mile, there are also vanity shortcodes.
Yes. the fancy ones.
Yeah, so instead of just a random string of numbers, you can get something specific and memorable, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something.
Okay.
But of course, those come with a higher price tag and a longer wait time to get approved.
Right, so it's a trade-off. But even if you don't go the vanity route, just having that short, memorable number can make a big difference in how people interact with your message.
Absolutely. So we've got high throughput, reliability, and memorability. But there's one more really important benefit we need to talk about, and that's trust.
Oh yeah, trust. That's huge these days.
It is, especially in the digital world where there are so many scams and phishing attempts going around.
So how do shortcodes build trust?
Well, one of the big things is the registration process. It's not easy to get a shortcode. You have to go through a pretty rigorous vetting process.
Okay.
And this vetting, it's really important because it helps ensure that the businesses using shortcodes are legitimate.
So it's like a stamp of approval, basically.
Exactly. So when a consumer sees a message coming from a shortcode, they're more likely to trust it.
Because they know that the sender has been vetted and approved.
Exactly. And it's not just the consumers who benefit from this. Carriers also like shortcodes because they know that the messages coming through them are less likely to be spam.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
It is. And this focus on trust, it's going to be really important as we move forward into the world of RCS and other new messaging channels.
Okay, so building trust now with shortcodes can actually help businesses in the long run as they adopt these newer technologies.
Absolutely. It all feeds into building a strong sender reputation.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But of course, it wouldn't be a balanced discussion if we didn't talk about some of the downsides of shortcodes, right?
Right. There are a couple of things to keep in mind.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, first of all, they're not the cheapest option out there. They do usually have higher registration fees and monthly costs compared to some other messaging channels.
Right.
And then there's the waiting game.
Yes. The waiting game.
It can take a while to get your shortcode approved, sometimes up to 12 weeks.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is. So you have to factor that into your planning if you're thinking about using shortcodes.
And there's one more thing, right?
Yeah.
About shared shortcodes.
Oh, yeah, that's a recent change. So carriers used to allow multiple businesses to share the same shortcode,
Okay.
but they've moved away from that model now.
Why is that?
Well, I think it was partly to do with accountability and brand clarity. When multiple businesses were using the same shortcode, it could be confusing for consumers to know who was sending the messages.
Right. I can see how that would be an issue.
Yeah. So now, to maintain a cleaner messaging ecosystem and help build trust, each business needs to have its own dedicated shortcode.
Okay, so those are definitely some things to consider. Higher costs, longer wait times, and the need for dedicated codes.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
But even with those downsides, it sounds like shortcodes are still a pretty powerful tool for businesses in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. They might be an older technology, but they're still very much relevant.
And in a way, they're kind of leading the charge towards this new era of more trustworthy messaging.
Exactly. They represent a move towards verified senders and a cleaner, more reliable messaging environment.
So to recap for our listeners, SMS shortcodes offer high throughput for reaching massive audiences quickly. They're incredibly reliable, ensuring your crucial messages get delivered. Their simplicity makes them easy to remember, boosting engagement. And they bring a significant level of trust, both from consumers and carriers.
And while the cost and the time it takes to get set up are factors to consider, understanding these core benefits can really help you make smart choices about your communication strategies in this ever-changing world of messaging.
So here's a final thought for you all to chew on as we wrap up. As we move further into this digital world where trust and reliability are more important than ever, how might those old-school technologies like SMS shortcodes actually give us an unexpected advantage? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into SMS shortcodes in 2025. We'll catch you next time.
Building amazing experiences that engage and delight your customers is easy with Commio. Our smart, reliable voice and messaging solutions are easy to implement and scale with you so you can deliver more calls and texts, be more competitive, and save money. With Commio, you get peace of mind and happier customers. Find out why thousands of software platforms and enterprises trust Commio with their communications. Get a demo today.